Hello everyone and welcome to part 1 of my closure series album. But before I can show you how to make all the closures, obviously we need an album base. So what I've done is revisited my Merlin album, which I designed for the Cool Katz a couple of years ago. And there's 3 different bits when you search for Merlin on their website. You can get the Camelot box with the covers, and that's using the new frame tape. You can buy the Arthur and Merlin together, but the one I'm using is the cover set. And this is the one with the Arca tape. So if we click on what you get, it's going well, isn't it? There we go. So we're going to get the MDF, some extra wide Arca tape, and you can see there some instructions on making an alternative album. So this is an MDF kit. So it's a nice sturdy kit. And when it first came out, you also got some pens and some spacers. So I'm just going to bring out my 1/4 inch spacers. There's one. And the other one. We can still get these on the Cool Katz website if you haven't got them already. But if you're not using the kit, the dimensions are on the website. But if you're going to make your own covers, it is 8 3/4 inches tall and 6 3/4 wide, with a 1 1/4 inch spine. And obviously you need 2 of those. But I thought I'd show you the extra wide Arca tape method again, because it really is very different. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my Pebeo marker, and when you get this, yours will be white, so you may have to pump it a couple of times. And I'm just going to take the pen. Now I'm going way too far in on this. You're only going to see a tiny bit. Around 3 edges. Then along each edge. And on the back. Now the Pebeo marker is brilliant. It goes onto this MDF really well. There we go. And I'm going to repeat on the other one. So let's just do that edge first. Down the edges. And on the back. Put it flat, it might help me. Now, as I said, you're only going to see a tiny bit of this. So I'm actually using way more ink than I need to be. Just go around the edges again, because these are the bits you are actually going to see. There we go. And I can put the pen away. Now, unusually, we're actually going to decorate the cover before assembling it. So I'm going to be using the Farmhouse kit by Graphic45 today. And I need to find one of the cover sheets. Here we go. And because the tape goes over your paper, you have to decorate the outside at least before you do anything else. So I'm going to cut my 12 by 12 just a bit shorter than the height. bring my guillotine in. And you know what, I've forgotten already. This was it 8 3/4, so that makes it 8.5 I would normally do, but I'm going to make it just a little bit shorter. So let's go. There we go. So we've got that cow nicely placed on the bottom right, and that's going to be the front of my album. Now my tape is going to come down the left hand side of my front cover. So if I just bring it down, there's the top of my MDF. I'm going to get about 1 inch. Now that's not going to be quite enough for me. I want a bit more of the tape, so I'm just going to trim off a little bit from that right hand side. So here we go. So now if my tape will come down at 1.5. Could even go 1.25. Should we trim off a little bit more? I think so. Okay, so there we go. Because you want quite a bit of the tape here just to hold it in place. So there we go. Now my tape, I said, is going to come at 1.5. So it's there. So I'm going to cut this at about 5.5. So I don't need to cover all of this because the tape is. That's going to give me a bit extra to go onto the back. Like so. So let's just take some distress ink, like I usually do, and just go around the edge. And this is just then the back page from what I used there. And I think this is way bigger than I needed, so I could have trimmed some off if I had something else I wanted to use it for. So let's get some glue. And making sure we're going to the edge, not too much glue. We don't want it spurting out everywhere. And just stick it on, leaving a nice black border. So there's the front. I can do the same on the back. Again, leaving that nice black border around 3 sides. And so all I'm doing now is taking my Teflon tool, again from the Cool Katz, and that'll just help spread the glue and make a stick down. Now I'm going to just grab a pencil. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to mark 1.5 inches down the length of my cover and join them up. Then I'm going to flip it over And I'm going to mark 1.5 inches in from this side too. And that's just going to help me line it up later on. There we go. That's going to be a guide for our archetype. Now, archetype, if you've never used it before, is a fabric bookbinding tape, which is self-adhesive and is very, very strong. So you do have to be a bit careful when you're using this. Now, this is going to bind my entire spine together. So I'm just going to take off a little bit. Usually it just comes straight off for me, but of course on camera, let me go to the other corner. I think this is much longer than I need as well. There we go. Right. So I'm taking off the backing, revealing a very sticky side. So I'm going to have to be really careful with this. So I'm going to line it up this way. And as I take my archetype off, what I'm doing is I'm going to peel this just slightly back this way and tear about 6 inches down and stick it back down, because that's going to be my overlap to the side. So I don't want that showing quite yet. Might be if I tear a bit more as well. There we go. So I've got that little piece exposed. Yeah, it should be long enough as well. And I'm pulling it nice and tight and sticking it on that line. Now flipping it over, I'm just going to pull out that tape. Again, back with my Teflon tool, just going to burnish it nice and flat. And now I can tear it all off that way. I'm going to keep this to cover that bit there, because I don't want my spacers to stick. Now these spacers again are from the Cool Katz and they come in lots of different sizes, and I'm using the 1/4 inch one today, and that just places there. And you get 2. So I'm going to place the other one. This is really hard to do on camera, much easier to do when you're just doing it at home. I'm going to stick it there. So this hasn't been exposed yet, so it doesn't stick there. Then you're just going to take your spine and place it inside there. Press it down. And then your back cover, make sure it's the correct way, because you want to cover that bit. Oh, need to move these across. And I'm going to place it in. So I'm done with my spacers now. So I'm going to bring this. So yeah, I have got plenty of extra. So grabbing my scissors. I can cut off the excess. So I've just made sure I've got enough just to overlap. So I've got enough for now for another one. So now let's the rest of this tape off. I should have taken that off before, really. There we go. And I'm just going to take my tool and I'm going to work it up and make sure then it touches the side of that MDF. Because this MDF is quite thick, so you need it to get some adhesion there. So I'm going to burnish it on. And now I'm going to try and follow that straight line there. And burnish it down. And down. And down. So I'm burnishing it, pressing it down, so I'm ironing it on. There we go. And we're just going to do the same on the other side. So take off the backing, take your tool underneath and press it up onto the edges, pulling it nice and tight to get it over. And now just burnish it down. So what you've got is a lovely cloth finished spine. So it's really tactile and lovely. So I'm just going to just gently fold. So that's where they go. So I'm going to take my tool and go into those channels. So as I fold up, I'm not squeezing in, I don't want to tear it. I'm just guiding it in. And the same on the other side. And then with these top bits, I like to just press down so they're not sticking up as I fold. So just work them into that channel. And there you go, your archetype covered Merlin album. So it's really strong, really durable. The MDF covers are brilliant, really nice and strong. So you've got a really professional cover. So now that we've got that, and of course you could make your own version. You could use the black tiger tape and some chipboard if you wanted to make your own. But I just wanted to show you how nice the MDF project kit is. So we're going to start now with our pages. So here now I've got my 220 GSM cardstock and I've already done a lot of the cutting ready. I will add the measurements in the description box below. You may have to extend by clicking more to see it, but all the measurements will be down below for you. Now, as you know, the project here is to focus on closures. So what I've decided to do is make the most of my 6x6 papers, my 12x12 papers by cutting them at 6 inches. So my pages are 6 1/4 wide. And also I've got the journal cards from G45. So they are going to be used on these flaps as well. But of course, you'll be able to use, and I'll show you how to decorate later on. Because I'm going to be focusing on the closures, I've decided this is going to be a repeating book. So all the pages are going to be the same. So I've already made 2. We'll have our 6x4 spaces. You'll have a 6x4 photo slot there and a big pocket. So I said, I've already done 2. So I'll show you how to make 2 more. So first of all, I've got 2 here. You will need 4. Okay, because I've already done my 2, of course. So the page bases are 8.5 by 6 1/4. Cut 4. Then the pockets, so you get 2 of these out of an A4 piece of card. So I think all in all, I think I used 9 or 10 pieces of A4 cardstock. If not 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, 9 with the spines. So you use 9 pieces of cardstock, which is pretty good for an entire album. So the pockets, 9.5 by 4. And you'll need 4 of those. Then you've got your flaps for your 6x4 photos. These are 6.25 tall by 4.75 wide. Again, I've got 2, you'll need 4. And then your spines to attach your pages onto. Now you see these came from an A4, so I still got plenty of the cardstock left. No, I had to take them with it. So that's all I've used is that much. So I can make some photo mats and stuff from leftover. These are 8.5 tall. The wide one is 2.25, and the thinner one is 1.75. So 2.25, 1.75. So that's all the cutting. Then you need your scoreboard, and optional is your corner rounder. So let's start with the page bases. Now you can leave these as they are, but I have corner rounded using my 10mm or the large on the right hand side, just to add a bit of extra detail. There we go. And then I'm going to place it so the curved bits are on the top, and it's 8.5. So I'm just going to mark it at 4.25. So it's not a score line, it's just a little tick mark at 4.25. I place them to the side. Now I'm going to take my pockets, I'm going to put the long bit at the top, and I'm going to score it half. Turn around and half. And the joy of a repeating page is you just sort of get into a groove. And then the flaps, short bit at the top, and you're going to score at 4.25. And then just to tie it in with the base, I'm going to take this time my small or my 4mm. So this has got small, medium and large on the same punch. So my score line is here, so I'm going to corner around to the opposite sides. And finally, we've got our spines. So spines, short bit at the top, we're going to do it 1/2 and 3/4. Turn it around and repeat 1/2 and 3/4. And the same on the thin one, 1/2, 3/4, rotate, 1/2 and 3/4. And that's all our scoring done. So let's bring everything back, flip them over. Base pages, we don't need to do anything else. Our pockets, we're just going to put our tape between the 1/2 inch score line and the edge, on the top and the bottom. Oh, there's one more score I need to do. I nearly forgot. Just bring it back for the flaps. My 1/2 inch score line is here, so I got that at the top. I'm going to mark at 3 1/8 to the score line and a little bit tiny bit over. So through the 1/2 inch at 3 1/8. So just, there's my 3, it's the next channel over, up to the score line and just over. And that's just going to help me with lining up later on. And now I'm just going to put tape on that 1/2 inch. And then with our spines, just between the outer edge and the first score line, we're just going to put our tape. Okay. We will be adding tape on the back later on. Okay, so let's get back to our pages. Now remember, you will be doing 4. I'm just doing 2 for speed. I've just folded my pocket pieces back and I'm going to burnish them. And I'm going to really press down hard. The good thing about the Teflon tool is it won't mark black cardstock, so you're not going to get that shiny mark. Then I'm going to turn over and I'm going to really press it down. The harder you burnish here, the flatter your pocket will be. So press it down, iron it down, then use a sharper bit to get it flat. So I'm using my nice smooth bit to flatten it down and then turning it over to get a sharper crease. There we go. And the same with our flaps. So let's assemble our pages before we do our spine. So the first of all, if you've corner rounded, that's going to be off to your right. And your pocket, it's going to fold back a little bit of the tape. So I've folded that bit up, this bit down. That means I'll be able to remove it later on. And I'm just going to attach it to my base page. Now, this bit over here is not adhered yet, so it means I can move it to line it up with my cardstock. And same here, I can just pull it now and it's exposing it, keeping it nice and flat, ironing it out. And that's my pocket on. Let's do the same again. Tape up, so you get over into a conveyor belt if you had the 4 to do. So the edges here are sticky. The bits over here are not. So I can line these up a bit better. There we go. And then take it off. And take it off. So that's our base pages done. Now I'm just going to add a flap. So I've taken it off. And if you remember, we had that score line round to there, and we had a score line here. So the edge of our flap is going to line up with the edge of our base page. And I'm just going to line up the 2 score lines I made, which were just my guide. That just means now it'll be in the middle. So that's my page done. And the other one. So I'm lining up my score line there, my score line here. May not be showing well on camera. I'm placing it down on the edge. So now I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, all identical, but they're going to have different closures, which is what you asked for in this video. So my 2 spines now. We've got 4 score lines coming down. So the 2 nearest the middle, we're going to fold our cardstock up. So we're making it into a valley fold. So we've made a U shape. This one might be a bit easier to see. So the two inner ones, we've folded the cardstock up to make a U shape. Now we've got that flexible hinge which will make everything lie nice and flat because we put a second score line. So I'm turning it over and I'm just folding it back, and you'll see the tape appear. So we had that U shape and then they come out. So I'm going to train this one though to fold in both directions. It's the same with the other one. I'm going to fold. Now I went over this in my original Merlin album tutorial. The spine is exactly the same, but if you want some different page ideas, have a look in that kit or look back at my videos. I've got some walkthroughs for you to see other page sizes for this sized album. So now I need to add some tape. So I need some thin tape for this spine. And I've run out of my thin tape. So I'm just going to cut my tape down the middle. Definitely use your titanium scissors for that. And we're just placing it down the back of that spine. And down this one. And the same on the back of this one. You're going to do two strips. One on this side and one next door. There we go. Okay. So we have now our two spines, which got that U shape and then folded back like wings, a U shape and they fold back like wings. Tape on the front, which will stick our pages on, and tape on the back to stick to our cover. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut just a triangle from that 1/2 inch. So the closest score line to the edge of the cardstock, if that makes sense. And that's going to make putting our pages on a lot easier later on. There we go. Right. The thin one. Let's take our glue. So I've taken the tape off. So I'll keep it in place for now so it doesn't move. But this glue will make sure it's nice and strong. So this is just going to go down the middle. There we go. And that's given us the spine with 4, oops, it's a bit off there, let me just get it more central, there we go. That's better. We've got our 4 hinges. And we can now attach this to the book. Again, especially because I'm going on to the archetype, I want some nice strong glue. Let's bring this back. And we're going to place it down the middle of our spine. So I'm doing that now, so it's going to have plenty of time to dry. So that's all our base pages, album and spine prepped. As I said, this album was going to be focused on closures, hence the repeating pages. So I'm not going to put it all together now. I'm going to take you through a few videos where we're going to do 4 different closures, and then I'll do an extra video at the end how to assemble the whole thing together and what we're going to do on the inside covers. So that was how to make the cover for our closure album using the Merlin kit from Cool Katz Crafts. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll enjoy seeing how all the closures will come together. So see you in the next video.